Welcome back to Math Expressions with Miss Hasty. We are going to begin Unit 7. We're going to start on Lesson 1, which is page 283 and 284 in your activity book. So please go ahead and turn to 283 and we will begin there. All right, we're going to be learning about simple expressions. Okay, the difference between an expression and an equation is the expression doesn't have an equal sign. Okay, so we're going to look at some examples here. We have expressions use numbers and symbols to express computation. So here we have 1/2 plus 2/3, 24 divided by 3, 5 times, 6 minus 2, 6 plus n, and 12 minus 10 times 0.4. Okay, so here we go. Let's go to our table here. Here's an expression written in numbers, and then we have the computation in words. So we have 3.5 plus 6.3. Now what does that look like in words? Always start with your operation word. Okay, so you look at the sign, that's addition. So we start with the word add, 3.5 and 6.3. Next one, we look at the operation. It is subtraction. So we start with the word subtract. Subtract 2 from 10. So you are taking 2 from 10, not the other way around. Okay? And then next one, we have a multiplication sign. So you're going to start with that word, multiply p by 1/2. Could you say multiply 1/2 by p? You could, because of the commutative property. You can switch those around and that's okay. All right, and the next one, we have a division sign, so we're going to start with the word divide. Divide 14 by 4. So the 14 is going the inside of the bracket on the division problem. The 4 is going on the outside. Okay? All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and go to the farther down on the page here. There is more than one way to say some of the computations above. For example, for 3.5 plus 6.3, you could also say find the sum of 3.5 and 6.3. Okay, so based on that, what's another way you could say 1/2 times p? Okay, we could say, here's one way to say it, find the product of 1/2 and p. Okay, now here let's go back here for a second. Find the sum of 3.5 and 6.3. Well, we know because of previous knowledge that sum is the answer to an addition problem, right? So in number 1 here, we know that a multiplication problem, the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. Okay, so let's continue on. Write the computation in words. Number 2, we have 7.5 minus 2.25. Again, you're going to write your operation first. Go back to the table, use the table as you do these problems. Okay, so subtraction is what we're doing, so we're going to write subtract. And you are taking 2.25 from 7.5. Okay? Number 3, another example. Look at the operation. This is an addition problem. So we're going to start with the word add, b, and 9. Okay? Number 4 has 2 multiplications, but you're still just multiplying. So we're going to start with the word multiply. And because we have 3 numbers that we're multiplying, we can use commas. So 3/4, comma, 8, and 1/2. So first you would multiply the 3/4 times 8, and then you would multiply your answer times 1/2. Number 5, 1.06 divided by 0.2. Again, start with the operation word, divide, and 1.6 by 0.2. Okay, let's do the opposite for the next ones. Write an expression for the words. So let's read what we have, and then we will write the expression. Find the product. Again, the product is the answer to a multiplication problem of 12 and 0.1. So we know that this is multiply. 12 times 0.1. Those are those words we need to remember. Sum is the answer to addition. Product is the answer to multiplication. Number 7, subtract 2/3 from 3.5. Okay, subtract is our operation, but 3.5 comes first. Minus 2/3, because it says 2/3 from the 3.5. So you are taking the 2/3 from the 3.5. And number 8, add 14 and t. 14 plus t. And number 9, divide p by q. Okay, p divided by q. Okay, let's go ahead and turn to 284, page 2. All right, expressions with more than one operation. Sometimes, now we did have one on the previous page that had 2 multiplications, but it was the same operation. It was just multiplication. But sometimes, order of operation in the box here, you have more than one. For example, here you have 15 plus 3 times 11. Okay, we have to go back to our order of operations box here and do it in order. Step number 1, perform operations in parentheses. So if there is something in parentheses, you do that first. If there are no parentheses, as in the first example here, step 2, multiply and divide from left to right. So starting at the left, moving to the right, multiply and divide. And then after you do that, then you add and subtract from left to right. But again, if there are parentheses, you always follow the parentheses first. Okay, so let's do some of these together. Consider the expression 12 divided by 5 plus 2. Which operation is done first, division or addition? Well, here we have some parentheses. So that supersedes the multiply and divide first. We have to do parentheses first, so we're going to do addition first for that one. And then write the computation in words. So what would we do? All right. So how I would write this is I would go left to right, divide 12 by the sum of 5 and 2. So that is telling you that you already got the sum of 5 and 2. That's telling you you already added those two, which is what the parentheses mean I have to do. Okay, so let's look at without the parentheses. 12 divided by 5 plus 2. Which operation is done first? Well, there aren't parentheses, so we don't do that first. You multiply and divide first, and there's a division here. So that means you are going to divide first. And write the computation in words. Divide 12 by 5. You do that first. And then comma, then add 2. Okay? All right, number 12. You were going to be doing the competition in words instead. Okay, thinking about the order of operation. What do we do first? 3.5 minus 2.1 plus 1.2. Okay, a couple different ways we can do this. We can say add 2.1 and 1.2 and then subtract it from 3.5. Or we could say subtract the sum, because we have to do that first because it's in parentheses, of 2.1 plus 1.2 from 3.5. Okay, so that's one way. Subtract the sum of 2.1 and 1.2 from 3.5, or subtract 3.5 subtract the sum. Oh, that's the same thing. That's fine. That works. All right, number 13. Here we have 1/2 plus 3/4 times t. Okay, we have to do multiplication first. So that means that you multiply 3/4 and t, then add 1/2. Multiply first, then add based on the order of operations. Okay, number 14. We have in parentheses 25 minus 10 divided by 5. Now without the parentheses we would do the division first before subtraction, but because we have parentheses you're going to do the parentheses first. Okay? And we're going to start with the operation word of subtract. 10 from, you're taking 10 from 25 and then divide by 5. And that's how you would write that. Okay, 15 through 17, write an expression for the words. Think about the order of operation. Okay, let's read all of it first and then go back and write the expression side. Multiply the sum of p and 3 by 0.1. So here we have the sum of p and 3. That means we added first. So there has to be parentheses involved if you were going to add first. Okay, so we can do multiply the sum of p and 3 by 0.1. So we can do p plus 3 times 0.1. Or you could have also done 0.1 times p plus 3, as long as it's in parentheses, because otherwise you wouldn't have done the addition first. But because we already have the sum, we did the addition first. 16, divide 36 by 4, then add 3. All right, 36 divided by 4 plus 3. You would do the division first and then the addition based on the order of operation. 17, add the product of 2 and 5. Product of 2 and 5. Remember, what does product mean? That means a multiplication problem. To the product of 9 and 8. So 2 times 5, and then you add that to 9 times 8. We don't really need parentheses because if we follow the order of operation, you would do 2 times 5, then you would do 9 times 8, and then you would add them. And that's what it says to do. All right, that concludes our activities. Let's go ahead to 7-1 homework side. You are going to be looking back at the activities we did together to complete your homework side. And just like on 283, we decided which one to do first. Look at the order of operations to make that decision. Okay, same with number 2. What would you do first? And then write it in words. 3 through 6, write the computation in words. Remember to always start with the operation word. Okay, 7 divided by 1, 7. So you start with divide. Number 4 is a subtraction problem. So you would start with subtract and think about what are you taking from the other. Number 5, you have 2 operations. You got to look at which operation comes first and start with that operation word. And number 6, same thing. Which operation would come first based on the order of operations? Start with your operation word. Okay, write an expression for the words. Read what you have for words and then think about what does that look like as an expression. Okay? All right, let's go to 7-1 remembering. We have some division problems here. Okay? Again, just to kind of refresh division, first you look at, can 3 go into 1? It cannot, right? So then, I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see it better. There you go. 3 into 19. How many times can it go in without going over? So 3 times 6 is 18. That's as close as I'm going to get. If you don't know, do the math off to the side. I always tell my kids, start with the multiples of 3 and 5. Okay, and then you know if you should go up or down. All right, and then 9 minus 8 is 1. 3 can't go into 1, so bring that 5 down. 3 into 15, 5 times. Okay, I still have my 7, so I'm going to bring that down. 3 into 7, as close as I can get without going over, is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract. 3 can't go into 1, so I'm going to have a remainder of 1. Now remember, when you're doing division problems, you can always check and make sure that your answer is correct. Okay, take your 652 times 3. And when you're all finished with that, if you add your remainder of 1, you should get the 1,937, and then you know you're correct. So check your division problems, make sure you are correct, okay? All right, you know what, let's do one of the multi-digit. Those are a little more confusing, okay? So 69 into 48 doesn't go into 4, doesn't go into 48. So you're doing 69 into 489. And this is where I tell my kids, just go over to the side, do some math on the side, take 69 times 5, and see if you should go up or down to get close to that 489 without going over. Okay, and then just follow the steps like we did on number 1. Okay? All right, 10 and 11, some story problems here. Okay, write an equation to solve the problem. Draw a model if you need to. 10. Jesse drives 6 3/8 miles in a golf cart during the round of golf. Peyton drives 7 3/4 miles. How much farther does Peyton drive? This is a simple subtraction problem. Just trying to find the difference, how much farther he drives. Again, you need to set these up vertically, okay, to be able to perform this operation, and then find a common denominator. Both numbers go into 8, okay? All right, and whatever you do on the bottom, you need to do on the top. So take your 3 times 2, and here we did 8 times 1, so 3 times 1, and then you can perform your math from there to see how much farther. Don't forget your label. They're measuring in miles, so that would be your label. And number 11, stretch your thinking. Write a computation in words for an expression that uses all 4 operations. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right? So all of those operations should be in your expression, and then write the expression in words. So look back at our activity today to help you with that. All right, that concludes 7-1, guys. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow for 7-2. Thanks.